Counsel, you ready? Just to make a quick record?
Sure, Judge. I was trying to find what Tyler asked me for, so I apologize.
Oh. All right, we are on the record this morning. We have counsel, Mr. Jackson, present. We are outside the presence of the jurors in this matter. We're here to make a quick record on the fact, I guess, Ms. Garner, one of Mr. Jackson's attorneys, had a death in the family over the weekend, and I guess there's a disagreement about what we should let the jurors know about, or how we should inform the jurors of that and explain Ms. Garner's absence. I'm just going to summarize what I understand the preferences to be. My understanding is that Mr. Johnston, Mr. Jackson would like me to inform the jurors that Ms. Garner's grandmother passed away, that last night, that she is out today dealing with that, and that her presence at the rest of the trial will be day to day. Does that essentially summarize what you're asking that I inform the jury?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, and on the state's end, my understanding is the state is concerned that, while the state has obviously expressed its sympathy to Ms. Garner, state is concerned that by letting the jury know that there was Ms. Garner's grandmother died, that may engender too much sympathy, and the state would simply prefer that I inform the jury that there was a significant family issue that Ms. Garner had over the weekend, and that's why she's not here today, and that, again, that her presence at the trial will be day to day from here on out. Is that essentially a correct summary of the state's position, what the state would like me to say?
It is, Your Honor.
All right. I am going to go along with the state's requests in this matter. You know, though I think it's a small risk, I do think there is some risk that they, the facts could engender a sympathy and bring sympathy into this as an inappropriate factor by the jury. Again, I think it's a small risk, but it's a risk nonetheless. And so for those reasons, I'm going to just simply inform the jury that Ms. Garner had a tragic family event, and that, or had a significant family event, is not here today, and that her presence will be day to day. And I'm also going to let the jury know that they're not to infer anything from her absence one way or another. Any further record the state wishes to make?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Johnson, on behalf of the defendant?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Are we ready to bring the jury in?
This doesn't need to be on the record at this point. The state intends later this afternoon to use a piece of
potential objection based on when that video is going to end, at least as of this morning. No issues on your end, Mr. Johnson? No, Your Honor. All right. Anything else on the record or off the record before we bring the jury in?
I don't think so, Judge.
Mr. Johnson? everyone. Go ahead and have a seat. All right, while you guys are getting your packets out, I just want to welcome you back. I hope you had a enjoyable weekend. Just want to summarize, you may remember that on Friday, right before 4:30, I think we finished with testimony from Officer Buckles, which was the last witness called by the state on Friday. And I believe we are now prepared to proceed with the state's next witness. Before we do, if you guys in the front, I know, want a minute to move your chairs a little bit. It's not... All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, one other thing before we proceed with the state's next witness. You may notice over at the defense table, Ms. Garner is not here today. She had a significant family issue over the weekend and has understandably needs to deal with that and has been excused. Her presence at the rest of the trial will be day to day. You're not to infer anything one way or another from the fact that she's not here. She may join us again, she may not, but again, it's just going to be dependent upon her circumstances. So with that, Mr. Scheer, is the state prepared to call its next witness?
Yes, Your Honor.
You may.
Thank you, Your Honor. The state would call Corey Barber to the stand.
Good morning, Mr. Barber. You can go ahead and have a seat over there, sir. And Mr. Barber, that microphone is live.
Okay.
You can adjust it however you'd like. So, Mr. Barber, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to swear you in. So if you
Okay.
please raise your right hand. Sir, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you'll be giving today will be the truth?
Yes.
All right, you can put your hand down. And then just for the record, can you please provide us with both your first name and last name and then spell them both?
Okay. Corey, K-O-R-I-E, Barber, B-A-R-B-E-R.
All right, Mr. Scheer, you may begin your examination.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, officer. How are you?
Good.
Officer Barber, could you please state your occupation?
I'm a police officer at the city of Cedar Rapids.
How long have you been employed with the city of Cedar Rapids?
About 6.5 years.
Can you just please give us a brief history of your training and education in order to be a certified peace officer?
So I've been an officer a little over 16 years. Like I said, the last 6.5 at Cedar Rapids. My degree background is I have a associate's degree in computer science from Lebec Community College in Kansas. I got 2 bachelor's degrees from Iowa State, one in sociology and one in criminal justice. And then I also have a master's degree in criminal justice from Simpson College.
And Officer Barber, I'm going to have you kind of slow down, please.
Okay.
And also speak a little bit louder in the microphone, okay? And sir, are you a certified law enforcement officer throughout the state of Iowa?
Yes.
What is your current position with the city of Cedar Rapids?
Right now I'm patrol with mid-shift, which is 11 a.m. to 9 p.m.
Are you assigned to any specific quadrant?
No, I'm what they call a wild city car, so I go everywhere.
And once again, when you kind of speak, you kind of drift off, so
Okay.
you can kind of just stay with that microphone, okay, Officer Barber?
Sounds good.
Thank you, sir. Can you just briefly describe the duties and responsibility a patrol officer has?
Mostly respond to calls on day shift and mid shift. We're pretty call heavy, so that's the majority of our response. And then we have time do proactive activities.
Do you work with anybody when you're on duty?
Sometimes, but for the most part, I'm a solo car.
I want to direct your attention to the events that occurred on or about June 15 of 2021 in the early morning hours around 8 a.m. through 8:30 a.m. Do you recall this date?
Yes,
Were you working on this date?
I was.
What time did your shift begin?
I was on day shift at the time, so it began at 7 a.m.
Were you working with anybody?
No.
Were you working as a patrol officer?
Yes.
And at around 8:20 a.m. in the morning, were you dispatched to 4414 Oak Leaf Court Northeast?
Yes.
Why were you dispatched to this location?
Dispatch advised that there was a gunshot victim.
And when you arrived on scene, was there any other officers present?
Yes.
Who else was present?
Officer Buckles and Officer Brown.
And is that Officer Curtis Buckles?
Yes.
And is that Officer Tim Brown?
Yes.
Did any other officers eventually join prior to approaching the residence?
Yes. Officer Justin Kaczynski and then Sergeant Phil Hansen.
And what type of officer is Officer Buckles?
Canine officer.
Did Officer Buckles have his canine partner with him on that day?
Yes.
And when you arrived in the neighborhood, where did you and other officers park?
We parked about a block down from the residence.
Why did you not park next to the residence?
On the way to the call, it seemed it wasn't making a whole lot of sense, so we weren't exactly sure what we had. So for safety reasons, we parked down the street. When we spoke to dispatch, we were trying to get the sister to come outside to the house because dispatch advised that the caller said the sister would meet us outside. And so we were waiting down the street for her to come outside.
Did you know at this time how many people were inside the home?
No.
Were you equipped with a body camera that day?
I was.
And was it working correctly?
Yes.
And have you had a chance to review your body cam footage from June 15th of 2021?
I have.
And when reviewing that footage, did it show your interactions approaching the house and making contact with anyone that was inside the house?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time, I would like to ask to admit State's Exhibit 4, which is a copy of Officer Barber's body cam footage from June 15th of 2021, and I would also ask that it may be published for the jury.
Mr. Johnson, any objection? No, Your Honor. All right, then at this time, State's Exhibit 4 is admitted, and you may publish it to the jury.
Thank you, Your Honor, and just for timing purposes, it's about 16 minutes long.
All right, thank you.
Can't come out. This is sounding like. All right. Well, I'm gonna go around to the back. I'm gonna see if I can get eyes. All right.
Should we approach with the car?
I'm gonna go around the side.
Okay. See if they can do a search by the address.
All right, Mr. Scheer, you may resume the video.
Thank you, Your Honor.
This is sounding bullshit. Yeah, and he would be making a shitload of noise. I'm just gonna knock. I think this is gonna be a swatting deal. I just rang the doorbell. The caller hear it. I'm getting no answer to the door. Can someone look in iLead to see if there's a phone number for this address? Is he shot? What the fuck? Guess he shot himself in the foot then?
We got ammo out here. Start another 52.
Justin, you guys are both, Corey, you and Justin, you
Okay.
upstairs. Kurt, you want to go upstairs with them? Tim, you want to help one with your foot?
Anybody?
This all needs to be cleared out though. We got a door here. Who's this down here?
Hey, who are you?
Dad. Is that your dad?
What happened?
What happened?
There, he came down. There was a man.
Who shot your
Who else is here?
My sister.
She's in the back?
Yeah, she's in her room.
Is she okay?
I think so.
What's her name?
Sabrina.
Sabrina? Is that a room right there?
Yeah.
Sabrina! Did you already got this behind us? I did. I got that. Oh, Sabrina! Hey! Is he right, please?
Hey, oh shit.
Sorry.
Victim, third victim.
Fuck.
Dewey. Third victim.
Yeah.
There.
115, we have 3 victims. Start us
We're gonna go-
at least 3 ambulances.
Who's with me?
Hey guys, I need
I'm
someone
coming,
here to
Barber.
clear this back here. Okay. Well, I'm gonna.
You're gonna go
Barber,
upstairs.
come in front
I'm-
of me. You come this way. You come in front of me, Barber.
Yep.
Yeah.
Brown, you go help Kaczynski, and then we'll.
Alright, come on.
Watch my back. I want to start here. If you want to hold it. Police department! Sound off if you're here! There's a kitchen back here. I'm going to clear it. Police department! Yeah, I got a garage back here. I'm going to check the garage. Police department. You want to clear around there? Okay.
You checked in the
What?
in the vehicle.
Yeah, I went around and looked inside all the vehicles. I didn't see anything.
You know what that is? Well, is that country?
Yeah, that's fine. Well, I'm assuming there's a mother around here somewhere. Coming out.
Kurt, coming back to you.
I knew it.
I think this door might connect, so I'm gonna open it just so you guys know.
All right.
Okay.
CRPD! Bradley!
Again, you're coming through and I'm here forward.
Alright. Yeah, next to this office.
Good.
Come across. Hey.
Fuck. So we had triple homicide?
So, hey, we got him. Is anybody down tending to him? He's over by Dad now in the front.
Is there an officer down there?
No.
Hey! Stop moving! Yeah.
Yeah. I'll get him out. Yep.
There's not a third floor.
Alright.
Are you able to walk or limp? Do you want to get fired?
Go out to the road, get medical to come in through the basement.
187, have medical come around back. We're just going to need a lift assist on the male that's injured. The other 3 are DOA.
Alex, what happened?
There was a man?
What man?
That's all, man?
Okay.
How old are you?
He's 20?
Okay.
Hey, lift it along. Leave it right there. Breathe and relax, alright? You're Alex, right?
Yeah.
Hey, Alex. I want you to relax. Yeah.
Here, I'll switch
Worry
to
about
medical
yourself right now.
and help him out.
You good?
Jim, you can clear.
Okay. He was playing with a round, so
Which one?
that one right there.
Okay.
Just trying to keep him from moving.
We're going to help you out. I got to put on gloves real quick.
Thank you.
And then we're going to go to the back porch.
Hey, he's in shock about everything. Yeah.
Okay, what's your name?
Uh,
What's your name?
Alex.
Alex?
Hang on up there.
How old are you, Alex?
Bring him out.
20? Okay, can we get you, we're gonna try
Let
and
me
get you.
sneak by her over here.
Sneak
so I
by
can-
over here. Okay,
All right.
ready?
1, 2, put your weight on your other foot. Okay, we're going to limp out.
Okay.
Coming out to you.
Hey, some help.
So just stand up, they're gonna have you sit in that cot as soon as they get it lowered, okay?
Looks to be a 22. Well, the rounds on the floor are 22s, so.
Yeah, cancel everybody else and you like do the DOAs and.
Put that over here.
Come and bring it, yeah, can you bring it over here? Can we have him sit on here?
There you go, have a seat.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're good.
You want me to go with him?
Yeah, yeah, if you want to.
Bring your car in, either one.
Well,
Where's Buckles?
Corey,
He went out front.
take him in there to do the 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One, the 2.
Yeah. All right. First one is right here. Shot in the head.
I'm just gonna leave my bag outside.
That's fine.
Bring it in. Anything about anybody yet?
I'm assuming it's mom, dad, and sister.
Okay.
No names.
Okay. Let's see. Okay, where's the next one?
Right here. Fucking asshole. Another gunshot to the head.
Okay.
I don't know where the entrance went.
Okay.
Jesus Christ.
Another teenager, maybe.
Yeah, there's pictures of her upstairs.
A name, at least.
That's his room, I assume. I don't think anybody's in here. Watch out, you don't step on the rounds.
I step next to it.
Okay. Multiple gunshot wounds.
Okay.
Watch
I got
out.
everything I need.
Okay. I'll just have you walk out the front door. That's fine. going to.
shell casings right here.
Okay.
We have confirmed all three.
Yeah.
His daughter in the back.
Yeah.
Officer Barber, I just want to ask some follow-up questions after reviewing State's Exhibit Number 4, okay?
Okay.
First, why did you go approach and ring the doorbell?
Because the way the call was playing out, it was possibly what we call a swatting incident. We've had several in town over the years, where someone calls in like a home invasion or like an active shooter or kidnapping, and to draw a big police response is like a way to harass somebody.
So can you once again just explain to me what you mean by swatting situation?
So they call in a situation that's serious enough that it would need like a SWAT response, is why they call it swatting.
And it appears that you were the last officer to enter into the home, is that correct?
Yes.
And so when you entered into the home, was that what you were expecting to see?
No.
Why is that?
Because en route to the call, there was never a mention about a deceased person. So all we knew was that there was a male possibly shot in the foot.
And were you giving some information that this was an actual burglary?
Yeah, they said a home invasion. They gave a description of a black male in dark clothing.
And so we see you and officers do kind of a little search or going through room to room. What are you doing there?
We're doing it for safety to make sure there's no suspects in the house hiding, and then we're also looking for other possible victims.
And how many other victims did you find?
A total of 3.
You kind of just, for better lacking, use some choice words at times throughout that video.
Yes.
Why were your demeanor, those words coming out?
A little bit of frustration because of the way the call was coming out. We're getting very few details, and it's one of those deals where it's either a super emergency with a high risk of danger, or this is possibly a prank. And so there's a little bit of frustration going back between the two.
And with regards to this possibly be a home invasion, did you see any signs of forced entry?
No.
Did you see any signs that it appeared someone had entered into the home?
No.
Did you see anything appear to be out of place?
No, the house was very well kept.
Did you see any furniture moved as there appeared to be any struggles anywhere?
No.
And you're not doing a thorough search, that's not your job, but you've been to other calls dealing with invasions before, right?
Yes.
And so when you do that, is part of it is to try to take an initial look to see if there is anything that could be potential evidence to prove an invasion?
Yes.
Besides the back door that you entered, was the front door locked or unlocked?
It was locked.
You saw that sectional area down in the basement. Did that appear to be moved at all?
No.
There was a coffee table with some puzzle pieces on it. Did you see any puzzle pieces on the ground?
I guess I didn't look if they're on the ground, but nothing looked disturbed.
Anything about the door that appeared to be broken or jammed with the basement door?
No.
What else did you do that day with regards to the investigation?
Once I exited the house, I got with Officer Buckles, and assisted him with this canine search.
And after you assisted with the canine search, did you do anything else?
I found some construction workers in a.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is one of those times where we're going to need to excuse you briefly and take something up. So we're going to ask that excuse you. I'd remind you of the admonition that I've given you previously, and you can use the restroom. This isn't going to be, I don't anticipate a terribly long break, but 10, 15 minutes. Ask to be ready to go. Thank you.
All rise.
All right. Go ahead and be seated, Officer Barber. You don't need to stand
Oh, okay.
during this.
All right. Okay.
All right, just to summarize, my understanding is there's going to be some testimony that the state is going to be seeking some testimony from Officer Barber related to what one or more of these construction workers said. Anticipating that, Mr. Johnson is lodging a hearsay exception, I believe, but that's all I know at this point. So, Mr. Scheer, why don't you tell me what the anticipated testimony is? Is it correct, Mr. Johnson, that your objection is hearsay? Yes. All right.
Yes, Your Honor, and what the testimony that we are asking Officer Barber is regarding to after Officer Buckles and him did their canine search, Officer Barber continued to walk down from the home, which is directly opposite of the 4414, to look for any signs of any indication of anybody leaving the residence. When doing so, he encountered two construction workers, which you can also hear their hammering from the Nest camera. He approached them and asked if there was anybody that came by and what time they had been there. The workers indicated they were there in the early morning around 8 o'clock and that they observed nobody. Now, technically, by looking at that would be hearsay, but we're not necessarily using it for the truth of the matter, but rather for investigating purpose and their next step of responding. It has been attacked by Officer Buckles' testimony that they did not do a thorough search and that this allegedly suspect either went one way or the other, and the way that Officer Barber goes is a direction where they have tried to make an argument that this person ran and that there was no investigation done to see if there was actually anybody that was there. This is just showing that the steps the officers did to try to see if they could locate any alleged suspect, and shows their responsive conduct of also why they continue to only specific areas and cease searching any further down to that location. So yes, on its face, it's hearsay, but it's not, because it's not for the truth of the matter, but it's more showing just their responsive conduct in their next step in this investigation.
Mr. Johnson, you want to sit down and maybe use your mic? I understand. If you,
Every chance I get, I like to sketch it out.
absolutely no problem with that, but at least while we're arguing, if you want to use your mic, I'd appreciate it.
Your Honor, this is totally being offered for the truth of the matter asserted, as otherwise it wouldn't be relevant. I often wonder why we put so much emphasis on why people did what they did. It doesn't matter. We expect officers to investigate the area. There's been no claim that they did otherwise. I don't believe this is in a different direction than where the dog went. It's in the same general area as my understanding. But these are all things I could have tested with whatever witness they would have called. There is a reference to a very specific individual. One of these Amish workers is mentioned, and I think his phone number is in there. I mean, they could have called this person if they wanted to, and we have been able to test their attention to what they were doing versus looking around for anyone, and we're not allowed to do that if the court allows this hearsay evidence to come in. So we're objecting as to hearsay.
All right, anything further, Mr. Scheer?
Your Honor, I would say that it is relevant, once again, to continue to show the investigation done by the officers.
Right. Anything else, Mr. Scheer? No, Your Honor. Anything else, Mr. Johnson?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Based on the record that's been made, I do find that the anticipated testimony, as I understand it, based on the record, is not being offered for the truth of the matter asserted. It's being used to explain the police conduct, the next steps in the investigation, and so for that reason, it is not hearsay, and the objection is overruled. Any further record we need to make before proceeding with the jury?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Johnson?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Then, I think that only took a few minutes. We gave the jury a little bit longer. Why don't we take a 5-minute break and be back ready to go in about 5 minutes. All right?
Thank you, Your Honor.
afraid if I yell into the mic, it's gonna be. I would almost rather like talk out loud because I never know how loud to talk into these things. Boone. Boone? Yeah, yeah. I was there like 10 years, so.
No, I'm glad I can, hopefully, whatever it is helpful.
Yeah.
I don't like not looking at it, just looking at something, like somebody seeing me, without clothes on.
I want to make a record on that, so not just how we're going to deal with that. Is that? All right, go ahead and have a seat, ladies and gentlemen. All right, thanks for your patience, ladies and gentlemen. Officer Barber, I would just remind you, sir, that you are still under oath.
Yes, sir.
And with that, Mr. Shear, I believe you were still questioning Officer Barber, and you may resume.
Thank you, Your Honor. Officer Barber, we kind of just left off that you had just got done helping Officer Officer Buckles and his K-9 partner with a track. And I was asking, what did you do next? Do you recall that?
Yes.
So after you assisted with the tracking, what did you do next in this investigation?
I saw some construction workers up the hill, so I walked up to them and asked them how long they'd been here.
Your Honor, I object again. I want to interpose my objection and make sure the court understands that if he's going to testify to what the worker said, that that's a hearsay objection. The court allows it, but like the jury instructed, that is not where the truth of the matter is served.
All right, state.
Your Honor, once again, it's a statement used to prove the response and investigation for this matter. It's not used for the truth of the matter.
All right, for the reasons already stated, the objection is overruled.
So once again, you approached these construction workers, and how far away were they from your path that you had walked from the 4414 residence?
Not very far. I had to go up a hill a little bit, and there's another street behind the house that it was on.
Your Honor, if I could have shown for the jury the map that we had shown on Friday.
Okay.
Thank you. Your Honor, may I approach the screen?
You may. And counsel, what I would say is that I think our discussion of the map that occurred on Friday is probably going to leave a poor record of, what was directions and whatnot. So for record purposes, moving forward, perhaps you could do a better job of identifying directions and streets and things like that.
Okay, Your Honor.
And I'm not singling you out. This was a group issue.
Officer Barber, I'm showing you on the map right along Scarlet Oak Court northeast, that wording on the street, starting on the S going north, the 4414 residence. If I could have you step down and just show me, starting from directions of 4414, which direction that you took, and then where the area that you met with these construction workers. And I'm going to have to want to stop you. When you said I saw, which direction are you pointing from the 4414 residence?
So this would be what, northeast,
Okay.
and if they were around this corner here, working on,
And when you say this corner, there is a house. Which house number is this?
I'm not sure on the house number.
And so you're talking about going in a northeast direction from 4414 through the backyard area along Scarlet Oak Court Northeast Street to behind the back neighbor house of the residence in question.
Yes.
Okay. And looking at the backyard neighbor house, approximately where, starting from the back left corner, working to the back right corner, where approximately were these construction workers?
The back left corner here, and then there are some other workers around the corner, to the east.
You may sit down. Why were you making your way or searching this area?
Just doing a general canvass of the area, because that's the area where dispatch advised the suspect ran.
And were you trying to locate or find any evidence to find this alleged suspect?
Yes, when the K-9 wasn't picking up a track, I saw the workers, and so I basically asked them as witnesses whether or not they saw anybody run through here.
And any evidence or any indication that anybody saw anybody running through this area?
Same objection. Overruled for the same reasons.
No, they said they'd been there since 8 in the morning and that they had not seen anybody run through there.
Officer Buckles, after you did this initial search, did you do anything else with the investigation on this case?
No.
Do you see the individual that was assisted out of the home in the courtroom today?
Yes.
And do you know what that individual's name is?
Alex Jackson.
And could you please just point to Mr. Jackson and describe the color of shirt and coat that he's wearing today?
He's wearing a black coat, white shirt, no tie.
Thank you. Your Honor, may the record reflect the witness has identified the defendant.
The record so reflects.
Thank you, Your Honor. And did all of these events occur within Lynn County?
Yes.
Thank you, Officer Barber. No further questions at this time, Your Honor.
Mr. Johnson, cross-examination.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, officer.
Hi.
Fair to say that when you arrived at that house, you arrived because of a report of a gunshot victim.
Yes.
And you don't, as a police officer on patrol, you're not privy to the entire dispatch call that comes into dispatch, are you?
No.
You're just basically at the mercy of what the dispatcher tells you, right?
Yes, we use the information dispatch gives us to the call.
In other words, you're not sitting there actively listening to the caller and what the caller said.
No.
So you would be surprised then to learn that in the call to the dispatch, the word burglary was never mentioned once. Would you be surprised to hear that?
No.
Okay. So you're not claiming that you were responding to a burglary, are you?
I believe the wording they use is a home invasion.
Okay. So there was no mention in that call whatsoever of a burglary, was there?
I took it as meaning the same thing, a home invasion.
And also, would you be surprised to learn that the person who called said that they'd been shot and that their dad had been shot?
We were not given that information, no.
Okay. So when you told Mr. Scheer on direct examination that this is not what you were expecting when you saw the scene, it's because you hadn't been told everything that dispatch had been told. Would that be fair to say?
Yes.
And that dispatch call came in around 8:20 in the morning, is that right?
Approximately, yeah.
And when you went into the house, according to your video, it was 8:36 by the time you got in there. Would that be fair?
Yes.
I mean, there's nothing about your video that's inaccurate, right?
No.
Okay. I want to ask you a few questions about what you encountered when you got to that neighborhood. Do you understand what I'm asking?
Not yet.
I mean, I'm just talking about the scene when you came up on it.
Okay.
The Oakleaf Court area is a relatively secluded neighborhood, would you agree with that?
Yes.
And somewhat affluent?
Yes.
In other words, it's a richer or more expensive area of town than a lot of the areas that you encounter.
Yes.
And 4414 would be all the way back at the end of the cul-de-sac, is that right?
Correct.
So in terms of secluded houses, that would be one of the more secluded houses in that neighborhood.
Yes.
The back behind there is, there are woods, right? There's woods behind that house.
It's been a while. I don't remember how big the woods area there is.
Could I prevail upon the state, put that picture back up? Thank you. I'm gonna try to indicate to you, can you see that okay, officer?
Yes.
So behind, the house that we're talking about are there's all these woods right here, right?
Yes.
And, this is the house right here, that's 4414.
Yes.
And so there's all these woods in this area here, correct?
Yes.
And then there's Ushers Ferry Road, I'm indicating to the top of the diagram here, is behind that, correct?
It is.
And the construction workers that you encountered, you've already testified, were over here behind the house further up on the right-hand side of the diagram at the top. They were behind that house, right?
A couple of them were behind it. One was more on the corner.
On the corner right here?
Yes.
Okay. And they're working on something behind that house?
Yes. I think, oh, sorry. I think in general they're just doing siding work, so they're probably working around the house.
Okay. Working on the house?
Yes.
So when you're doing that kind of work, you've got your back to everything going on. You're working on the house, right?
The first guy I encountered wasn't. He was on like a bench facing towards me when I walked up to him.
But you don't know what he was doing before you got there?
No.
Now, over here, if we go back to Scarlet Oak Court, which is the street that runs to the south, this is north. Is this north?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay. So the street that runs to the south where the driveway is on the garage, that would be Scarlet Oak Court, right?
Yes.
And there's woods over here as well, correct?
Yes. Just
And
trees, yeah.
if you were to go through those woods, it would empty out onto 42nd Street?
No, 42nd Street's a little further down.
Can you tell me on this where the general direction of 42nd Street?
If you keep going south, 42nd Street's east-west road.
Okay, so would it be down here then,
It'd be further down, yeah.
at the bottom of it?
Yeah, it's not on the map.
Okay, right. So what street would be over here then, going along this way?
I don't know, to be honest, this was the first time I'd ever been in that neighborhood since I've worked for the department.
Sure. When you arrived at, thank you for that. When you first came upon the residence then, there were no cars in the driveway, right?
No,
And I'm talking about 4414, right?
I didn't see any cars, no.
To the outward observer, the house looked like it might be uninhabited, right?
I don't know about uninhabited.
Well, I mean,
but,
there weren't any cars outside.
Yeah, there's no, just because there's no cars doesn't mean no one's there.
No, I understand, but there wasn't any evidence on the outside of the house that anybody was inside the house, was there?
I wouldn't use that as the only evidence, I guess.
What other evidence would you consider?
Knocking on the door and seeing if anyone's home.
And when you did that?
No one.
Okay. Did you also notice that there was a dog in the screened-in porch?
Later on in the call, yeah.
And the dog wasn't barking when you got there, was it?
No,
In fact, you can't hear any dog barking on your video at all.
no.
I know that when police come to our house, or anybody comes to our house, my dogs go crazy. Did you hear any that dog barking once the whole time the police were there?
No.
when everybody entered, and when I mean everybody, all of the police officers, were any of them wearing those footies that you can wear so you don't disturb the crime scene?
No.
And that's because that wasn't your top priority, right?
No.
You weren't there to investigate the crime scene. You were there to render aid to whoever might need it,
Yes.
and to make sure that you were safe.
Yes.
You were in that house then for 10 minutes?
Approximately.
And in that 10 minutes, you were responsible for securing that residence, right?
Yes.
And making sure that you had the backs of your fellow officers.
Yes.
Thank you. I don't have any further questions.
Any redirect examination, Mr. Scheer?
Officer Barber, did you ever see any evidence of a home invasion?
No.
Thank you.
Mr. Johnson, anything further?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right. Officer Barber, thank you. You may step down, and you are excused. Just by who's got the microphone, I'm assuming you're up now, Ms. Slaughter?
I am, Your Honor.
All right. Ms. Slaughter, does the state have another witness to call this morning?
State calls Tim Brown.
All right. Good morning. Mr. Brown, I presume. I'm going to have you come on up over here to the chair on my far left, if you would. And you can go ahead and have a seat when you get there. And then, Mr. Brown, that microphone is live. You can slide it back and forth, move it up and down, however you'd like.
Okay.
First thing I'm going to do, sir, is swear you in. If you please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you'll be giving this morning will be the truth?
I do.
All right. And then just for the record, can you please provide us with your first and last name and spell them both?
Timothy Brown, TimothyBrown.
All right, Mr. Scheer, or excuse me, Ms. Slaughter.
Officer Brown, can you tell us how you're employed?
I'm employed by the Police Department of the City of Cedar Rapids.
And how long have you been employed as a police officer for Cedar Rapids?
About 6.5 years.
Did you have any law enforcement experience prior to your employment with CRPD?
I did not.
Did you graduate from one of the law enforcement academies in Iowa?
Yes, I did.
And which one was that?
The Cedar Rapids Regional in 2016.
Can you tell us approximately when you went through the law enforcement academy, how long that academy lasted?
I think it was around 5 or 6 months, the actual academy process was.
And what's your current title with CRPD?
I am a patrol officer.
Have you, from the time that you joined CRPD, maintained the title of patrol officer?
Yes.
And can you tell us essentially what is a patrol officer?
I work the day shift responding to calls for service. I also serve as a member of the special response team, and I'm also a field training officer.
Okay, let's break some of that down. Day shift, when you say day shift, what hours are you assigned to work?
I work 7 in the morning till 5 p.m.
And during that 7 to 5 shift, are you assigned any specific beat?
I typically work the central beat, which is mostly downtown.
And when I say beat, can you tell us what I mean when I say beat?
It's a general geographical area. I would say it's roughly 20 blocks either direction from the police department.
Officer Brown, you also said that you are a field training officer, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you first tell us what it means to be a field training officer?
When the department is looking for officers to train recruits that are coming out of the academy. Officers can apply for those jobs and be assigned a recruit for typically a month-long period when they leave the academy to teach them paperwork, calls for service, just general mentorship.
So, just to be clear, you go through the academy, is that book training and practical training?
Yes.
Okay. After the academy, are you just thrown onto the street? Here's a car, here's a gun, ready to go?
No, that's when you're assigned a field training officer to help guide you over the next 4 to 5 months.
And you are one of those field training officers.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that something that you apply for, or are you selected, or both?
You put in for it, there's an interview process, and if you are selected, then you can get that title.
And how long have you been a field training officer?
About 2 or 3 years.
You also said that you are a member of the Special Response Team, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And is that abbreviated or shortened to be SRT?
Yes.
Tell us what a Special Response Team is.
Some people know it better as the SWAT team, responding to high-risk calls for service, serving high-risk search warrants.
How do you become a member of that team?
That is also a application process followed by physical fitness tests, interviews with the team members, and interviews with command staff.
Once you're selected for both the FTO program or the SRT team, do you receive additional training?
Through SRT, we typically train about twice a month. FTOs, we usually once a year have a few hours course going through just general updates and the academy process, changes in paperwork and things like that.
Officer Brown, in June of 2021, were you employed with CRPD?
Yes.
At that time, were you already a member of the SRT team?
Yes.
And were you a field training officer then as well?
I think I was at that time.
In June of 2021, did you still work the day shift?
Yes.
And were you still assigned primarily to the central beat that covers the downtown area?
Yes.
Were you a solo or a partnered unit in June of 2021?
I was a solo unit that day.
And when I ask solo, does that mean that you're in your patrol vehicle alone?
Yes.
I want to draw your attention specifically to June 15th of 2021. Were you on duty that morning?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you become involved in an investigation being called out for the address 4414 Oak Leaf Court Northeast?
I was.
Is that in Cedar Rapids?
Yes.
Is that in Lynn County?
Yes.
How did you come to be involved in that call for service if that's not a part of your regular beat that you work?
That early in the morning, there are usually not as many officers working. The next shift typically comes on at 11. On that day, I was responding to a separate alarm call, and I was in the northeast area. I was diverted from that and dispatched to Oak Leaf Court. And
to be dispatched to Oak Leaf Court, what information did you receive from the dispatcher that sent you in that direction?
Dispatch didn't have much information when I was sent. It was reported that there had been a break-in. There was a male who was shot, and he was bleeding.
Throughout the call, did you continue to get updated information from dispatch?
Most of the updated information I got was when I got closer. I was asking dispatch for more information. I think at the time they were speaking with him and attempting to do so. But when I arrived on scene, there was still limited information. It was believed that the back door to the residence was open and that the offender had fled.
When you got in the neighborhood of the Oak Leaf Court address, where did you park?
I was a few houses down from 4414. I initially was a little closer, but as I got there, I realized the residence, the back of it was wooded. I had some concern that if a suspect was back there, and I think at that point they had mentioned a long gun, so I backed up a little further.
When you say they had mentioned a long gun, are you referring to dispatch?
Dispatch, I'm sorry.
May I approach the witness, Your Honor? You may. Your Honor, may I have this screen out to republish the map? Mr. Brown, are you familiar with the neighborhood that's depicted in the map that's up on the screens?
Yes, I haven't looked at it in a while, though.
Do you need a second to familiarize yourself?
No, I believe I can see.
In this map, can you identify the house 4414 Oak Leaf Court?
I believe it is, I'm sorry, that one right there.
And can you give us a general idea of where you parked your vehicle when you arrived in the neighborhood?
Initially, I was in front of this residence, and I backed up a little bit further to around there.
So just to make the record clear, it appeared that you pointed in front of the house that would be directly south of the 4414 across across Scarlet Oak Court Northeast. Is that correct?
Yes,
And then when you backed up your patrol vehicle, it appeared that you pointed to what would be the second house south of the 4414 Oak Leaf Court. Is that correct?
yes.
Once you got your patrol vehicle parked, tell us what you did next, officer.
I parked my vehicle. I was still waiting on more units to arrive due to the lack of information. I wasn't going to run into the residence with what little we had provided. Due to the distance I was away, I retrieved my patrol rifle from the trunk of my squad car, and I just maintained a position where I could see the residence until I was joined by other officers.
And what other officers joined you?
Officer Buckles and Officer Barber.
Tell us what happens when Officer Buckles and Officer Barber showed up.
We had a brief conversation. I think we were all a little reluctant to believe all the details, or lack of details. At that time, I think there began to be information that family was in the residence. I did request at some point that dispatch have one of them come out or get onto the phone. And
When you say one of them, you mean one of the family members?
yes, I was being told by dispatch that family of some sort was inside the residence, and the caller was unable to get out on his own. I was requesting that they have him exit and meet me in the driveway or outside the residence. When that wasn't a possibility, and I learned that there was possibly family in the residence, I requested that one of them either get on the phone or come out and meet me, and still we were being told for whatever reason it wasn't possible.
Did you and Officer Buckles and Officer Barber then decide to make an approach to the residence?
Yes, I went towards the back of the residence with Officer Buckles. He collected his canine partner at that time. Officer Barber went to the front of the residence. As we were approaching, we were still being very cautious. It was very quiet in the neighborhood. There was nobody that I can recall out and about. I don't even remember any traffic. So we approached slowly, getting as much information from dispatch as we could.
When you approached the rear of the home, did you make any observations about the entry-exit point to the rear of the home?
So it was reported that the back door was open. When I got closer, I could see that this had a walkout basement. We got to the corner of the residence, and I wanted to get a better view on the backside of the house before we went walking in front of windows. It was at that point that I left Officer Buckles and peeled around to a wood line that was in the back of the residence. There was a little gravel pathway, and I found cover behind a tree that overlooked the back of the residence.
Why was the fact that there were several windows on the backside of that house worrisome to you?
If, in fact, there had been an intruder that was still inside, we still were not confident that anything at all was happening. I was concerned maybe this was a false report, like a swatting call, and we didn't want to just be barging into a random person's house or be spooking random people.
So after you take cover or take up a position in the wood line, as you referred to it, what happens next?
That's when I finally saw something that made sense, which was the back door was in fact open. And I think that was the point that I relayed that to other officers, and they started to approach the door because I guess, like I said, at that point, that was the only thing that had finally lined up to me.
And when those other officers began to approach the door, did you follow them to the residence?
Yes, I heard them calling out to a subject, and it sounded like they were talking to somebody. When I saw them make entry, I ran from my location and proceeded in the residence as well.
Tell us what you saw when you first entered the home.
There was a male laying face down near a couch. Officer Buckles was making contact with him, and we quickly discovered that he was deceased with a gunshot wound to his head. And we could hear somebody calling out from the hallway, and when we went a little deeper into the living room, we could see Alexander down the hallway.
And you named the person as Alexander. Would that be Alexander Jackson?
Yes.
And when you say you saw Alexander, was he the person alive that was in the hallway?
Yes.
Is that person in the courtroom today?
He is.
And can you point him out, describe him to us?
He is wearing the white shirt, black suit coat, and a goatee.
With no tie?
Correct.
Your Honor, if the record could reflect that this witness has identified the defendant.
The record so reflects.
Once you are in the residence, Officer Brown, see the defendant in the hallway, what do you do next?
I, at that point, notified dispatch that we had more than one victim. We didn't know at that point that there were any more than one. And we began to secure the residence, making sure that nobody was inside and the scene was going to be safe to start having medical personnel come on scene.
At that point, when you notified dispatch that there was more than one victim, by victim, did you mean more than one person who was wounded?
Yes.
And at that point, the two people that you were aware that were wounded were who?
It was the father and Alexander at that time.
When you started to secure the residence, were you checking back rooms?
Yes, there was a number of storage rooms and bedrooms in the basement, and we went through those just to make sure there was nobody else inside.
Once you secured those additional rooms, what happened next?
Officer Kaczynski went to check one of the back bedrooms. At that time, he called out that there was a third victim.
And that back bedroom would be still in that lower level?
Yes.
After you found out that there was a third victim on scene, what did you do next?
I helped Officer Kaczynski finish up in that back area of the basement, and then we still needed to proceed to the upstairs to make sure that was secure as well.
And did officers go to the main level?
Yes,
Were you one of the officers who went up there?
I was.
Once you and other officers got to the main level, did a protective sweep ensue up there as well?
Yes.
Tell us what happens when you get to that main level or top floor of the house.
I got to an open area at the top of the stairs. I proceeded to a section that I was told was not cleared yet. I checked some closets and an office and a bathroom area. At some point, another officer located a fourth victim.
Where was that fourth victim located?
I believe it was the master bedroom. I didn't make it into that room.
Officer Brown, there was a point where your business, for lack of a better word, was completed on the main level of the home. Is that correct?
Yes.
And did you return to the basement level?
Yes, I did.
What happens when you return to the basement level?
We realized that all of us had accidentally proceeded upstairs and nobody was downstairs with Alexander anymore. He had crawled down the hallway towards where the rifle and his father were laying. So I stopped at the bottom of the stairs, waited with him and asked him his name, and tried to ask him what happened.
When you got back down to the bottom of the stairs and made contact with the defendant, was he fiddling with something?
He was playing with a .22 round. I don't recall if it was a spent casing or a unspent.
And when you observed him fiddling with that casing, what did you do?
I asked for him to put it down.
And did he?
Yes.
During your interaction with the defendant, did you ask him what happened?
I did.
And did you get a response?
He just told me that there was a man.
By this time, did medical personnel arrive on scene?
Yes, they had arrived and were near the back of the residence.
Once the ambulance personnel or the EMTs arrived on scene, what did you do next?
We didn't want to let all the paramedics and firefighters come inside and contaminate the scene, so we assisted him to his feet, him being Alexander, to his feet, and walked him to the back door.
Is that where he then was seated on a stretcher?
Yes.
Officer Brown, was the defendant transported to the hospital?
Yes.
And was that done by ambulance?
Yes.
Was there a decision made that you would accompany the defendant in the ambulance during that transport?
Yes.
Whose decision was that?
Sergeant Hansen requested that I ride. When I got to the ambulance itself, one of the paramedics asked if I was riding, and I said I would.
Prior to the defendant being loaded into the ambulance, did you conduct a pat-down search of the defendant?
Yes. I saw that he was wearing like gym shorts or something, and we just briefly checked what little pockets he had.
Is that routine or typical in a case of a gunshot to pat down the patient being transported to the hospital?
Yes.
Why?
Just to make sure there's no weapons or anything that could be dangerous to paramedics. Even on routine medical calls with individuals, we make sure that there's nothing in their pockets, and there's, if they have backpacks, we typically ask if we can go through those so paramedics are comfortable transporting.
Officer Brown, what you're wearing today, is that your assigned patrol uniform?
Yes.
And as part of your patrol uniform, are you equipped with a body camera?
Yes,
And are you wearing that body camera today?
I am.
Would you mind standing up and showing the jury where your body cam is affixed?
Right here.
Is that where your body cam was affixed back in June of 2021?
I believe it was.
In June of 2021, Officer Brown, was your body camera functional?
Yes,
And did it record your, did it record you?
Yes.
On the day of June 15th of 2021,
yes,
and your interactions with the defendant?
yes,
And did it record your interactions with the defendant while he was in the ambulance being transported to the hospital?
yes,
And did you have an opportunity, Officer Brown, to review the recording from your body camera prior to coming into court today?
yes,
And what was depicted in that recording, did that fairly and accurately depict your interactions?
yes.
Your Honor, at this time, the state would move to have Exhibit 5 admitted into evidence.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
All right, State's Exhibit 5 is admitted.
At this time, Your Honor, the state would ask to publish State's Exhibit 5.
And that's fine, we can do that just roughly. How long is this, Ms. Slaughter?
The recording in State's Exhibit 5 that we are planning to play right now, Your Honor, is approximately 40 minutes.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, just for scheduling purposes, we took a break. I wasn't planning on us taking another one before we adjourned over the noon hour. That being said, as I've indicated before, I don't, not here to make anybody uncomfortable, so we'll plan on playing the video, but if anybody at any point thinks we need a break, just raise your hand and we can certainly do that, okay? All right.
Right, but this sounds fucked. If there's people in the house, there's no reason they can't come out. This is sounding like, all right, well, I'm going to go around to the back. I'm going to see if I can get eyes. All right. I want to go around the side here. Try to get one of them on the line and get somebody to come outside. So it should be this one, right?
Well, the thing was there was a court in this court,
Yeah.
but it did show the far dead end.
Good. But it's the one on the corner. There's a big dog on the back porch. $4414? Is that right? 4414 is supposed to be the house number, correct? All right, we're on the back side. It looks like there's egress from the basement, so we'll try to get eyes on that here. You say you rung the doorbell? I don't see any open doors back here. Yeah, I don't really want to be in front of the window if this is meant for. Tell you what, hold right here. I'm gonna go long. I'm gonna get behind that tree. I'm gonna get a look on the backside. I still think something's fucked with this. Back door is open. Back door right at the end of the landing's open. All the shades are drawn, so I can't really see anything. Looks like the window to the right of the door is open, but there's a glare.
Can you put your hands out to the side where I can see them?
There's two, yeah.
This guy looks like he's got gunshots in his head.
115 multiple victims. One has a gunshot wound to the head. The other is wounded in the leg.
We got ammo out here.
Start another 52.
Justin.
Have them come on scene.
What's Corey, you and Dustin do upstairs? Kurt, you want to go upstairs with them? Tim, you want to help the one with your foot?
Yeah.
This all needs to be figured out, though. You got a door here. Who's this down here? Who are you? Is that your dad? What happened?
What happened?
There was a man.
Who shot your dad?
Who's here? My sister.
Is she?
Back? Yeah, she's in her room.
Is she okay?
I think so. What's her name? Sabrina? Sabrina! Is that a room right there? Sabrina!
You already got this behind us?
I didn't.
I got that. Let's just, well, it's a deep laundry room. Let me just check. Cedar Rapids, please. Hey, friendly. I didn't realize it connected. Third victim?
Yeah.
Fuck.
Two, clear.
Yeah.
You're good there.
115, we have 3 victims. Start us at least 3 ambulances.
Who's with me? Hey guys,
I'm coming with you, Barber.
Clear us back here. I'm gonna.
You're gonna go.
Barber, come in front of me.
Jimmy, come this way.
You come in front of me, Barber.
You got, right.
Alan, you go help Kaczynski, and then we'll.
All right, I'm coming. Where you at? What the fuck? Closet. Blocked from the outside. I think it's gonna be fine.
I don't know what this is. Okay, am I doing this right?
Yeah, just stay where you are, man.
coming up to you. Pressure on there, okay? Okay, we're coming up. Come on up, officer. Over here has not been cleared yet.
Okay,
Okay, flip around.
Cedar Rapids Police, if anyone's inside, sound off now.
Police department.
Let me get this closet quick.
Okay, I'm gonna go in here. Looks like a master bedroom. Fourth victim.
Fuck.
That could be the wife. Yep.
Hey, I'm on the other side. I think this door connects. I think this door might connect, so I'm going to open it just so you guys know.
All right.
Okay.
CRPD, friendly.
Tim, you're coming through and I'm here to throw away.
All right. Yeah, it connects to this office.
Yep. Come across.
Hey, you're good. You got that closet?
He's over by Dad now in the fire room. No.
I thought one.
Hey, stop moving!
How about let's get him out back?
Yeah, I'll get him out. Yep.
There's not a third floor.
All right.
Are you able to walk or limp? You want to get fired?
Go out to the road, get medical to come in through the basement.
So we got the whole house is cleared, right?
What's your name? What's your name?
Alex?
Alex.
Yeah.
Alex, what happened?
There was a man?
What man?
A tall man?
Okay.
I think let's get him out back.
How old are you?
20?
Hey, leave that alone. Leave it right there. Breathe and relax, all right?
You should get my mom?
Yep, we're getting everybody. You're Alex, right?
Yeah.
Okay, Alex. I want you to relax and worry about yourself right now.
Okay.
Help him out.
You, okay. He was playing with a round, so
Which one?
that one right there. Just trying to keep him from moving.
We're gonna help you out. I gotta put on gloves real quick,
I think he's
and
in
then we're
shock
gonna
about
go
all
to
this.
the back porch.
I think he's in shock about everything.
Your rifle in my car for right now, since I'm parked closest. And
Yeah.
grab a phone.
Okay, what's your name?
Grab my phone.
I got mine if you want it. Right?
Just hang on up there, and we'll bring him out.
We're gonna bring him out. Dad's down with a gunshot wound to the head.
Okay.
There's a female DOA in the bedroom over there.
Okay.
Mom's DOA upstairs.
Okay.
I believe this is his son. He was hit in the foot.
Okay.
We are not sure
We have suspects?
what.
No idea. There is a rifle on the ground here. Do you want to go in with one of us just to look at?
gonna go in and do the DOAs.
Okay.
Comment, take the end.
Okay, perfect. But if you guys just want to do your stuff out here with him.
Okay.
And it's,
We got the bed
hey,
coming.
hey, someone help. There's a,
Just stand up. They're going to have you sit on that cot as soon as they get it lowered, okay?
looks to be a 22. Well, the rounds on the floor are 22s, so.
Yeah, cancel everybody else and you want to do the DOAs and. Less in there is better, so
Yeah.
I'll do it.
Can you scoot that over here?
Come bring it on, yeah, can you bring it over here? Can I have him sit on here?
There you go. Have a seat.
Your name, dude?
Yeah,
Yeah, you're good.
you want me to go with him?
Head up here, put your foot over.
Yeah, yeah, if you want to.
Or
Okay.
bring your car up, either one.
Well, I'll follow them.
Court.
He went out front.
You wanna go to this half and
In
you
there.
call 911 right away, bud?
Yeah.
Or one of the two of you.
I can get you to put up there for me.
And then, or if you want to go grab your car.
Yeah, I'll follow.
Okay.
Until Tim gets back.
I tried asking him, he didn't.
Yeah.
He just said there's a man, and that's all the further we got.
Do you guys have cameras here at your house?
Yeah. One in the front.
Okay.
One in the front. Anything inside or anything? In the camera?
Do you mean to stick with him?
I don't know.
Why don't you get your car up here so that way?
Hey, I want to let them know it's possible that he's. Hey, Jesse, you want to double check his pockets before?
Yep.
I did while we were down there real quick, but
Do you happen to have anything in there?
nothing on you're not supposed to have?
I hope not.
Okay, we just want to make sure that everybody's safe.
A lot of pockets.
There's a,
I just want.
hey, there's a possibility that. All right, I'm gonna go with Ari and just stick with him until investigator gets there.
Are you gonna?
I'll try to get some.
Are you gonna ride in with them?
Do you want me to? I will.
Yeah, it probably wouldn't hurt.
Okay. You guys hear anything? Did you guys hear any shots? Everything's fine now. I'm gonna ride with. Yeah, I will. Huh? They're what? Okay.
St. Luke's closer. Can I borrow your
Okay.
first name, my friend? What's your first name again?
I'm riding with you.
We're just gonna work on getting some of your vitals, okay? Can I borrow your arm, my friend?
115. I'll be riding with the area with the 20-year-old.
You have been.
Getting a little painful.
Yeah. Figure out for me again. This one, but
What number you give that pain? 10 being the worst pain you ever felt, 0 being none at all. Probably a 10. Okay.
Hey, partner, what's your first name as it appears on your ID?
Alexander?
It's Alexander. Can you spell Alexander for me?
Alexander.
Alexander, what's your last name?
Jackson.
Jackson?
Yeah, but they didn't write it down. They gotta,
Alexander, what's your birthday?
September 20th,
Of what year?
2000. Sorry, man. We're doing a lot of stuff here, so I apologize, dude.
Anyone run his info yet?
I don't think so yet.
I got it right now. I'll do it on 3. Alexander Jackson, yeah.
Just making sure you don't have any more shots.
115 on 3, 29 for the 20-year-old male here.
Understandable, sometimes you might pull on something and not realize it's another wound somewhere.
You can see that one. You can't see the one in your back there, so just making sure, okay?
115 on 3, 29. Last name Jackson, John, Adam, Charles, King, Sam, Ocean, Nora. First name Alexander, Adam, Lincoln, Edward, X-ray, Adam, Nora, David, Edward, Robert. Date of birth, 2000, 09, 20. 2000, 09, 20. This will be the individual we're transporting to the hospital.
What time did this start today? What time did I start? Wait, what time did, what's it?
Thank you.
You know what, let's try that again, sorry. So, it's 8:50, what time do you think you got shot? I got it already. Were you sleeping when this happened? What happened? On the porch. You're sleeping on the porch? Yeah. My dog, where's my dog? Dog's on the porch. Black dog? Yeah. Yeah. Poke your butt.
You want a line or a bag?
Like a lab on my boat. I'm sorry, what was your question?
You want a bag set up or you?
Yeah, I think so. I think we're. Ah! Sorry.
Nothing's good.
Fumble fingers today, man.
Zero? Alright, good day.
You name him? Yeah. He a shelter dog or? A rescue, I mean? How long ago? I don't know. Alright, Alex, what kind of medicines do you take on a daily basis? Anything? Huh? No. Okay. What's that? For like seasonal allergies? Okay.
Sorry about that.
That's one you were good. What's the blood? Here's your shot. You grab the drug box and then honestly we're stable as stable can be, so you probably go routine. What's that, Alex? I'm sorry.
I ran into him.
You ran into who?
The man.
Okay. You ran into him how? Thank you.
I hit him and
With like a fist or?
kind of.
Okay.
It's church.
Okay.
So my foot.
You were sleeping on the couch in the porch, or sorry, you were sleeping in the porch.
Yeah.
Okay. Then what happened? Did you hear gunshots or what?
Yeah.
Okay, you heard gunshots. And then saw somebody in your house?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
You all good?
We are all good.
All right.
Alex, you go to school anywhere?
I guess university.
Which university?
Iowa.
University of Iowa?
Yeah, that one. You good to go?
I'm good to go.
That's a
Whenever
good
you're ready.
one.
Yeah?
What do you study? Not that I know of. Not that you know of.
Alex, who opened the back door?
I don't know. Maybe he did. You only saw one guy? Yeah. Yep. One gun?
200.
Yeah. No bump. What's that, buddy? Ow. Yeah. Damn right out. What's that? I have never been shot, no. Or stabbed. Well, not officially stabbed. Stabbed with a pencil, but that doesn't count. Been shot with a BB gun, does that count? Sure. Oh, well, then you got a big shot. In the foot? In the hand. My fault. Learned the value of my lesson. Don't put your hand in front of the feet. Alright, here we go with some medicine. Hey. Honestly, you saw the one I came to the house. Calling your sister. Huh? Calling your sister. See? Thank you. She just told me better than you. Yeah. She goes to my college too. She does. That's good. Well, stop it. What's that? Yeah. That's your heart. Well, it's actually electrical activity. What? Hey, you said it's my heart. Yeah, no, it's not your heart. It's just showing the electrical activity in it. That medicine should start working pretty quick here. Yeah, anything to eat today? Eat or drink? No. I get something to eat. What?
There's somebody there. Well, that I can't tell you. I wasn't there. I wasn't there. There's somebody else there. I don't know about your mom, your sister, or your dad. Okay. I'm here to take care of you and you and the What'd your dad do?
He's retired
From?
computers. He does IT.
Mama.
She's a photographer.
Like,
Professional.
yeah.
She's really good. I went to KCRG.
You went to Canada.
Yeah.
Awesome. What year did you graduate?
1919.
1919?
Yeah.
You know, Zoe Law.
Kind of.
Kind of. I know, right? What's that?
Long time though.
Seems like it, but it was only a year and a half ago. About 2 years ago, I guess. Now then.
Yeah. Why did we do
I had to go to bed last night. Sleep on the patio well, and
Yeah. It's nice out there.
it's nice out there. Loud inside.
Yeah.
You like sleeping out there with it?
Yeah.
Or, I don't know.
That's it, guy.
Any better? It's not a natural thing to happen.
Yeah.
It's a foreign hole in your body. Right.
Right.
Right in. So no other medicines. Sorry, you don't take any medicine now. There's anything you ate last night, somewhere around 6, 7, 8 o'clock. I don't really
Yes.
remember. It's probably in the time frame that we don't have to worry about it. As long as it wasn't like, 6 a.m. this morning or something like that, okay? Blood pressure's doing great. Well, yeah, maybe, but yeah, we'll fix that first, then figure out the rest. Right? You know, if you start getting cooked meat, this bad. You laugh, but it's true. The dispatcher?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's nice.
Oh, yeah. They're all pretty nice. Once you treat it well, then they get it. Or don't listen.
I listen to everything she said.
When you get in the room, there's going to be 8 people there, okay?
To see me. Okay.
So, they'll, at least I think that there should be.
That's good.
They're gonna take an x-ray of your foot at some point. They'll probably try and make you a little bit more comfortable. So they don't want you in pain, okay? And we'll kind of figure it out from there, okay? All right.
My dad.
Got a gun?
22. It's a real nice one.
Pistol or gun or
Long gun.
long gun? What is your, does your dad have a gun too, or
That's this one.
that's his? Okay.
Real beauty.
Any more than just the 22?
We got a locker full of them.
A locker full.
Gotcha. But it's locked, so.
Well, that's good.
We lost the keys, so.
Oh, no. When did you lose the key?
Like a year ago almost.
A long time ago. I'm just taking these off you, man. That's gonna keep your pressure when we get out of here, okay?
Good.
Still warm enough?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
115, we're out in St. Luke's.
This up. You can see everybody's goodies here, right? Yeah. These are your goodies, not ours. All right, I think we're ready when you are, sir.
Where are we heading to?
Oh, I'm sorry. All right.
This truck don't go down.
Hold on. Yeah, I'll be back for that.
Stay with him.
Huh?
Stay with him. So that it's.
Yeah, he's not
Yeah. I can
there
tell.
right now. All I really got is that him and his dad were supposed to go shooting today.
We're on lockdown.
For records purposes, Your Honor, I'm pausing briefly at 37 minutes, 54 seconds into this video. Officer Brown, the two people that just came onto screen, there's a woman here. Who is this woman?
Investigator Lucina.
And when you say investigator the Cedar Rapids Police Department.
Yes, ma'am.
And the gentleman with her, who is this?
Investigator Denlinger.
The Cedar Rapids Police Department.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm starting the video back up, Your Honor.
I've been through this close. Area was chatting with everyone. I wasn't.
But it's all.
Yes, yes. Sister was in bed. Dad was by him. One was upstairs.
I ain't getting all of you guys. Sorry. This officer might have something.
Hey, there's a pair of bloody underwear in the ambulance. I don't know if you guys got a bag. If you want it. If you want it.
September 20th.
I think he was using it for pressure maybe, or I don't know.
Hang on a second.
1 second.
Has he been like wanted and stuff? Or like we know he's got nothing on him?
Yeah, he was patted down. There's no firearms.
Good morning.
Hi.
This is Alex.
Hi, Alex.
You can kind of see what we're here for.
Yep.
Looking through to me, it looks like there's full on the bottom there.
You just wanna stand up here and kind of talk, so we can talk to you for a minute.
Yeah.
Here's the 22, I'm not sure.
Do you want
You
to
should be able to
put this
catch.
in there? Or?
Well,
Not a paper cut.
they patted him down.
And you put it on top of the glove box right there.
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. Or can you clip it onto Brandon or something?
I don't have a clip. Mine's the basket weave thing.
Oh, so we just put it in here?
Yeah.
We set it on the counter.
Put it here?
Yeah.
Yeah, someone knocks it over. There's that glove box up there. Nobody should be bumping into that.
Oh, yeah.
Is that just a camera?
Coming out. Okay.
What's your name? Alex. Okay. Dr. Sam, one of the emergency doctors that you.
So just cut it up there then?
We deep breath.
For records,
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, Judge.
No,
For
you go.
records purposes, Your Honor, the state has stopped the video at 40 minutes, 35 seconds into the video. Actual time on the video stamp, 9 minutes, 11 seconds, 9 a.m., 11 minutes, 36 seconds.
All right, and is that it for the video for the time being?
Yes, Judge.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you good to keep going? Okay, that was we've been sitting in our seats. Why don't we just, in your seat, everybody stand up and we'll take a quick stretch. All right, everybody have a seat, and Ms. Slaughter, you may resume your examination.
Thank you, Your Honor. Officer Brown, when you met up with, when you were met by Investigator Denlinger and Investigator Lucina at the hospital, were they equipped with a body camera?
No,
Is that typical for investigators that they're not wearing body cameras?
they typically do not.
You provided someone with your body camera, is that correct?
Yes,
Who was the person that you handed that to or that took that off of your vest?
was Investigator Bosenberg.
Did your body cam remain with Investigator Denlinger and Lucina in the defendant's hospital room for the duration that they were there?
Yes,
And just to be clear, their interaction with the defendant while he was in the hospital room, was that captured in this same video clip?
yes.
I don't have any further questions for this witness, Your Honor.
Mr. Johnson, cross-examination. You might turn on that microphone, sorry.
I was having some trouble hearing a lot of that. I don't know if anybody else was. Maybe it's just my age. So I'd like to go over some of that with you, if that's all right.
Okay.
Could you hear it okay?
Most of the video, yes.
All right. At 8:32 and 42 seconds, you remarked there's a big dog on the back porch. You remember that part?
Yes, when approaching the house.
And that dog was not barking, was it?
I don't recall if it was or not.
Okay. Well, sitting there today, do you remember hearing any barking at all?
No,
And did you hear any barking on your body cam?
I don't recall hearing barking.
And at 8:34:44, you remarked that the back door is open. Back door right at the end of the landing is open, right?
Yes,
And then there's a conversation when you get inside. One of the officers says, "Who's this down here?" And Alexander Jackson says, "My dad," right?
yes,
And you said, "What happened?" And he said something that's hard to hear, and he said, "There was a man." Remember that?
I remember him saying something about there was a man at that point, yes.
And then somebody asks at 8:37, "Who else is here?" and Alex says, my sister, right?
I don't remember if I heard that or not at the time.
But it's on your body cam, right?
It should be, if it picked it up.
And he says, she's in her room. He, being Alex, says, she's in her room. And you said, is she okay? And he said, I think so. Right?
I think so, yes.
And then there's some yelling that goes on at 8:40, and somebody yells at Mr. Jackson, hey, stop moving. Remember that part?
Yes.
Because originally when you came in, Alex was way down the end of the hall in front of his room. Would that be fair to say?
Yes.
And then when we see him again in the video, he's very much up close with his father. Is that right?
Yes, he crawled towards his father.
And then at the 8:41:07 mark, you ask him what his name is, and he says, huh? Like H-U-H, question mark, like, huh? Right?
I thought when I asked him what his name was, he told me it was Alex.
Okay. Well, that was my next question. But then you said, what's your name? And he says, Alex, right?
Yes, he told me his name was Alex.
And you said, Alex, what happened? He said, there was a man. You said, what man? And he said, a tall man.
Yes.
At 8:41:54, Alex says, did you get my mom? You remember that?
Yes.
And you said, yeah, we are getting everybody. You're all right, Alex? And he says, yeah. You remember that?
I said, you're Alex, right?
Oh, got that backwards. Okay. So you said, you're Alex, right?
Yes.
And then you said, okay, Alex, I want you to relax and worry about yourself right now.
Yes.
And he said, okay. And then at 8:42:11, we hear an officer say, I think he's in shock about all this. I think he's in shock about everything. Was that you or a different officer?
That was me.
At 8:44, an officer asked Alex, how long ago did this happen? Did you call 911 right away, bud? And Alex said, yeah. Right?
I believe so, but I don't think I asked that question.
Yeah, I'm not sure that you did either, but it is on your body cam, right?
I think so, yes.
And then somebody asked him, do you guys have cameras here at your house? And Alex says, yeah, one in the front. Remember that?
Yes.
And that's when he's outside on the gurney.
Yes.
At 8:40, 8:34, the male paramedic that we see a lot in this video, do you know what his name was?
I don't know his name.
Okay, he says, okay, what number would you give the pain? 10 being the worst pain you've ever felt in your life and 0 being none at all. And Alex said probably a 10, right?
Correct.
At 8:50:31, the male paramedic is having a conversation with Alex in the ambulance, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
And he's asking Alex what happened.
Correct.
And Alex says, the paramedic says, so it's 8:50, what time do you think you got shot? And Alex says, and then I couldn't make that out. Do you know what he said there?
I couldn't make out what he said either.
And the male paramedic says, were you sleeping when this happened? What happened? And Alex said, I was sleeping on the porch. Remember that?
Yes.
And he said, male paramedic said, you were sleeping on the porch? And he goes, yes, my dog, where's my dog? Remember that? He's asking.
I do.
Okay. And the male paramedic says, dog's on the porch. Black dog, question mark? Remember that?
I remember them talking about the dog, yes.
At what point on this ambulance ride did you observe them giving Mr. Jackson his fentanyl dose?
I don't know what the fentanyl dose looks like.
Okay. So if that was given to him through an IV, it would have been around the time they were setting up the IV, do you think?
I don't know what the fentanyl dose or what the treatments they were doing were.
So you don't know that fentanyl is an anesthetic?
I don't know what they were treating him with. I was not tending to him in that manner.
But you do know that he was given a dose of fentanyl on the ambulance ride. You do know that.
I didn't know he was given fentanyl.
But there's a discussion about that when you get to the hospital, there's a discussion that your body cam film where he's talking about that he got 100 of fentanyl.
I don't remember talking about fentanyl.
And then at 8:51:31, Alex is talking to the male paramedic, and they're again talking about what happened. And Alex says, "I ran into him." And the male paramedic says, "What's that, Alex? I'm sorry." Alex says, "I ran into him." You ran into who?" says the male paramedic, and Alex says, "The man," right?
Something like that, yes.
And at 8:52:39, the male paramedic says, "Okay, you ran into him how?" "I hit him and the male paramedic says, "With like a fist or kind of I just charged, then he got my foot," right?
Yeah, he said something about he got his foot and was chuckling at that time.
And it was hard to hear, but Alex does cry while he's in the ambulance, right?
Quietly and briefly, yes.
Alex was crying when he was in the ambulance, correct?
Quietly and briefly, yes.
I think the jury could determine the length of time, don't you think?
Okay.
And again, you don't know at what point he had received the fentanyl, do
I do
you?
not.
And you know that he had a bullet wound to his foot.
Yes,
And you do know that people react differently when they're in shock,
I do.
and that they react differently when they've received something like fentanyl.
I don't know how everybody would react to fentanyl.
Alex describes hearing gunshots to the male paramedic, doesn't he?
I believe so.
And then he saw somebody in the house, right?
Yes.
At 8:56:34, Alex asks, "Is my sister okay?" You heard him ask that, right?
Yes, I believe so.
And nobody tells him whether she's okay or not, do they?
No.
At 8:59:45, Alex asked, "Did they get an ambulance for my dad?"
Correct.
This was after he was crying.
I don't remember if that was before or after.
Well, at 8:59, Alex can be seen crying, right?
I don't have the timestamp written down in front of me.
And then, as he's crying, he says, "Did they get an ambulance for my dad?"
I remember him asking that question.
He asked it twice, right? Then right again, he said, "Did you get an ambulance for my dad?" Right?
I don't remember how many times he asked that.
Okay. And the male paramedic answers, "There's somebody there." Right?
I don't remember what the paramedic said. That was a conversation between them.
And then and then Alex says, "I hope they find." Do you know what he said after that? When he started off, "I hope they find." Do you have in your notes what was said then, at that time?
I don't remember him saying anything along those lines.
The male paramedic answers, "Well, that I can't tell you. I wasn't there. There was somebody else there. I don't know about your mom or your sister or your dad. Okay?" And Alex says, "Okay." You remember that conversation?
I don't know if I could ever make out those words or if I ever did when I was reviewing the camera.
So you don't think that conversation occurred?
I don't recall hearing it that way, no.
And then the male paramedic asks Alex about his dad, right?
I don't remember at one point they were asking about the dad, but he did ask about his dad at some point.
No, I'm not asking you at what point, but you remember him saying, you remember the male paramedic asked Alex about his dad?
I remember the male paramedic was asking what his father did.
Well, Alex told him what his father did, right?
Yes,
He told him it was computers.
something along those lines, yes.
He designed IT, right?
I don't recall exactly what they were talking about.
Alex's first response was that his dad was retired. Remember that part?
I don't remember their entire conversation.
The male paramedic asked about his mother and your mom, and he said she was a photographer. Yeah, like professional. She's really good.
Yes, they talked about photography.
But that's what Alex said.
About his mother, yes.
The male paramedic asked Alex, what time did you go to bed last night? And Alex said 11. Remember that part?
I don't remember that part of their conversation.
And the male paramedic said 11. Okay, did you sleep on the patio all night? And Alex responded, yeah, it's nice out there. Remember that part?
I remember that.
All right. And then when you hand off Alex out of the ambulance and we see Investigator Lucina and Investigator Denlinger there, you say to them, he's not there right now,
I said something along those lines, yes.
meaning he's out of it,
What's that?
meaning that he's out of it, right?
Something along those lines, yes.
And Sarah Lucina, Investigator Lucina says, yeah, I can tell.
I don't remember her reply.
And I expect this part to be played, and I'm not suggesting anything from the prosecution. I know they stopped because this was your involvement, your immediate involvement. But the male paramedic says at a little later after 9/11/27, vitals have been all stable. I gave him 100 of fentanyl. He's got an 18 in that left AC if you need it. Remember that?
I don't know what any of that means.
This witness has already answered that he does not recall hearing that. That's outside the scope of this witness's knowledge. If it's contained in the video, this witness doesn't have knowledge of it.
Your Honor,
I think he just indicated that from the stand, so go ahead, Mr. Johnson.
thank you. In fact, the male paramedic says that twice on your body cam, that he received 100.
Objection, Your Honor, outside the scope of this witness's knowledge.
I think we can get there. This isn't the time, so objections overruled, or sustained, excuse me.
Thank you. I don't have any further questions.
Any redirect, Ms. Slaughter? All right. Then, Officer Brown, you may step down and are free to go.
Thank you.
Counsel, you want to just approach, talk about the schedule real quick, where we're at? All right, is this going to be you, Ms. Slaughter? It is, Judge. All right, Ms. Slaughter, is the state prepared to call its next witness?
They call Brian Dunbar to the stand.
All right.
Did somebody get up?
Yeah. He's good. Good morning, Mr. Dunbar. Going to have you come on up over here to the chair to my far left, if you would, sir. And then you can have a seat once you're there. Mr. Dunbar, that mic is live, and you can move it around, adjust it however you'd like to get it situated for you. Mr. Dunbar, I'm going to go ahead and swear you in first. If you please raise your right hand. Sir, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you'll be giving this morning will be the truth?
I do.
All right, and then you can put your hand down. For the record, can you please give me your first and last name and spell them both, please?
Yes. Ryan, R-Y-A-N, Dunbar, D-U-N-B-A-R.
All right, thank you, sir. Ms. Slaughter?
Thank you, Your Honor. How are you currently employed?
I'm an investigator with the Cedar Rapids Police Department.
Investigator Dunbar, how long have you been employed with the Cedar Rapids Police Department?
Approximately 6.5 years.
Are you a graduate of the Iowa Law Enforcement Academy or one of the academies in Iowa?
I am.
And which one did you graduate from?
The Cedar Rapids Police Regional Academy.
And can you recall what year you graduated?
2016.
You are currently an investigator, correct?
Correct.
Have you always been an investigator?
No.
Can you tell us when you became an investigator?
I applied for the investigative division in roughly the spring of 2020 and then was assigned in the fall of 2020.
Prior to becoming an investigator, what role or position did you hold with the Cedar Rapids Police Department?
I was a patrol officer who specialized in OWI, or impaired driving enforcement.
And what does that mean?
Basically, I was a drunk driving car that worked the entire city at night.
Were you a drug recognition expert as well?
Yes, I still am.
Still am. What does that mean?
That means I'm specialized to detect impairment for drugs, including alcohol.
So just to be clear, when you were a patrol officer in situations where there was an OWI and the person was suspected of being intoxicated or impaired by a drug, were you called in to evaluate them?
Yes,
And you have specialized training outside of normal OWI investigations that make you an expert in drug recognitions. Is that correct?
correct. I attended approximately a 1-month-long school for Iowa Drug Recognition Expert Program.
Now, you said that you applied in the investigative division. Is that correct?
Correct.
Within the investigative division, are there multiple types of investigators?
We're all kind of assigned different areas, but we all can work any type of investigation.
What types of different areas? Can you give us some examples of what types of areas of investigation exist within that division?
Sure. For example, I'm currently assigned more or less as a burglary investigator. We have property crimes, which I would fall under. We have crimes against persons. We have crime scene unit investigators and narcotic investigators and so forth.
And you said you specifically are involved in property crimes and burglary crimes?
Mainly, yes.
When you became an investigator, did you receive any additional training on top of what you learned in the academy, your training with your field training officer, your DRE training? Did you get specific investigative training?
Yes.
What did that include?
I remember going to 3 training schools. One was advanced interrogation and interview techniques. Another one was advanced traffic stops. And then I think the third was advanced report writing. Oh, excuse me, it was advanced search and seizure, not report writing. I apologize.
Investigator, in general, you don't work a beat, correct?
Correct.
When you become involved in investigation generally, how are you typically assigned to different investigations?
In example of a burglary, it's reported to a patrol officer, and then let's say it would come back to the investigative bureau, and it might be assigned to me or my partner.
Let me break that down for a second. So a patrol officer generally goes out and responds to a call.
Correct.
When you say it goes back to the investigative bureau, what does that mean?
So their report is reviewed by my supervisor, who then will determine if it holds enough solvability criteria to be assigned to an investigator like myself to conduct further follow-up on.
So once that original report is assigned to the investigations bureau, it's reviewed, and if determined by the supervisor, then you would be personally assigned to a specific case.
Correct.
Do you handle calls that occur all throughout the city?
Very rarely.
Are there specific areas that you generally respond to?
So I more or less cover the east side of Cedar Rapids for burglaries. My partner who covers the west side predominantly, we do go out and assist patrol when we can, when time allows.
Where's the division line between east and west part of the city?
We use the river line as the east and west divider.
So west side of the river is considered west, east side of the river is considered east?
Yes,
And so you work the east side of the river typically?
typically, yes.
In June of 2021, specifically, Investigator Dunbar, June 15th of 2021, were you employed as an investigator with the Cedar Rapids Police Department?
Yes,
And did you happen to become involved in an investigation regarding an incident or incidents that occurred at 4414 Oakleaf Court Northeast?
yes.
Tell us how you became involved in that.
I got to work sometime around 7:30 in the morning and overheard radio traffic about a possible shooting or shots fired. At that point, I listened in. Eventually, it was confirmed that there were several deceased individuals, and our supervisors asked myself and other investigators to respond.
And did you respond?
Yes.
Are you assigned a specific marked patrol car?
More or less, it's unmarked that I drive.
So when you received this call, were you at the station?
I was at the station, yes.
Did you then get in your assigned police vehicle and go to the scene?
Yes.
Were you alone?
No, I had Investigator Watkins with me, who was doing a stint with the Investigative Bureau at the time.
Can you tell us, Investigator Dunbar, when you went to the scene, where'd you pull up?
I pulled up, I believe it was in around the 4200 block of Oakleaf Court.
And when you got there, can you walk us through what you did when you arrived?
Sure. We were instructed to canvass the area for any video surveillance, witnesses, or anything else.
Who does that instruction come from?
It would have been either Lieutenant Dave Dostal or Sergeant Josh McAlpin at the time.
So the assignment to conduct canvassing comes from a commander that's on scene?
Correct.
Can you explain to us, when you use the term canvassing, what that means?
Yeah, so in this situation, we go house to house. We look around the area just in general for anything like video footage. We look to see if there might be any people outside for witnesses, anything else that might be of evidentiary value.
So as you're walking a neighborhood, are you looking at the exterior of homes in a neighborhood?
Yes,
And when you're looking at the exterior of homes in a neighborhood, are you specifically looking for cameras?
yes,
If you see a home, just in general, on a canvassing mission, when you see a home that has cameras, do you attempt then to make contact with the homeowner?
yes.
Are you laughing because I called it a mission?
A little bit.
And then you also look for people who are outside.
Yep.
Do
Yes.
you attempt to make contact with folks who don't have cameras and are not outside?
Yes, in this sort of situation, we went to pretty much every house in the area.
Can you, my screen's already up, Your Honor, but may I have your permission to republish the map?
You may.
Investigator Dunbar, are you familiar with this map or with the images that are depicted in the map?
Yes.
And can you tell us what this map in general covers?
This would be a bird's eye view of Oakleaf Court and the crime scene.
There should be a laser pointer up there for you to utilize as I go through this line of questioning.
Okay.
And just to let you know, it only works on the big screen.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Can you show us generally where you parked when you pulled up?
So I would have parked somewhere in this general area, and we walked up to the scene.
And approximately what time did you arrive in this neighborhood?
I don't remember the exact time, but maybe around 9 a.m., give or take.
After getting the directive or the assignment to begin canvassing the area, did you do that?
Yes.
Can you recall the first house that you made a stop at?
Yes.
And do you recall the specific address?
I believe it was 4417 Oakleaf Court.
Can you point to us on this map what house was the first one you stopped at?
Yes. It would be this house right here.
And so just for records purposes, this would be the house to the west across the cul-de-sac from the 4414 Oakleaf Drive?
Yes.
Excuse me, Oakleaf Court Northeast?
Yes.
And whose residence was that?
It was the Yang residence.
When you approached the Yang residence, can you tell us what, if anything specific, caused you to make contact with that house first?
Well, due to the vicinity of the crime scene being directly across the street, and I did notice it had cameras on the exterior of the household.
And when you noticed cameras on the exterior of the household, Investigator Dunbar, can you explain to us, firstly, where those cameras were mounted?
If I'm recalling correctly, I believe they had a Nest camera on the front side of the house near the entryway, and they might have had a Ring camera as well.
And when you say a Nest camera, is that just the brand of it?
That would be the brand of the camera, yes.
And so there was a brand of camera called a Nest mounted to the front of the house.
Yes.
When you say you also believe there was a Ring camera, can you recall where that camera would have been mounted?
I believe it was near the front door.
Did you make contact with one of the homeowners at that residence?
Yes.
And which specific homeowner did you make contact with?
I believe the first person I spoke to was Bao Li Yang, and his daughter was also home, Lydia Yang.
When speaking with the Yangs, did you or were you able to confirm whether or not the Nest camera mounted in the front of the home was operational?
I did.
And did you have an opportunity to view portions of that footage?
Yes.
And can you describe for us what time period of footage that you had an opportunity to watch?
Yes. I believe it was Mr. Yang gave me access to the camera, and I reviewed the footage from approximately 6 a.m. to, I believe it was approximately 8:30 a.m., roughly when officers arrived on scene.
At that time, when you were reviewing it, were you doing that at the Yang household?
Yes.
And between 6 a.m. and 8:30, we're talking 2.5 hours, correct?
Correct.
At that time, Investigator Dunbar, did you do a minute-for-minute review?
No, the Nest camera only allows you to scroll, so I did a quick scan through the 2.5 hours to see if I noticed anyone outside or anything suspicious.
In that brief review of the Nest camera that you did while at the Yang residence, was there anything that you did observe as far as people in the area?
The only thing I noticed during the scan of video footage was a white work van. I think it was around approximately 6 a.m.
A white what van?
Work van, or utility van, excuse me.
Were you able to determine if that white utility van belonged in the area?
Later on, there were several houses that we could see that were under construction, so it didn't seem surprising to see the work van.
Anything else that you observed?
No.
Did you review it up to the point where you saw officers arrive on scene?
Yes.
And so the Nest camera that was mounted to the front of the Yang household was able to capture police officers.
Yes.
May we approach?
You may. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I've been informed that this was a good time to take our lunch break, so we will start our lunch break now. Even though it's a few minutes before noon, we'll still pick up at 1:15, so I ask that you be back ready to go by 1:15. Again, I'd remind you of the admonition that I gave you last week, just to hit the high points again. Still more evidence to go, so keep an open mind, don't make any decisions. Do not discuss this case with anybody else, including amongst yourselves. Avoid any media coverage of this case, and again, no sorts of investigation by you about anything related to this case, people, places, or anything you have anything else related to this case. So with that, you are free to go and have a good lunch.
All rise.
All right, Mr. Dunbar, you can step down.
Thank you, sir.
Unless you need them. I mean, I wasn't gonna, yeah. We don't need you here. I don't need you here till after lunch. I don't know if Ms. Slaughter needed you or not. You folks can sit down. Is there, I guess, when we were up here, I was informed about more potential objections, so I mean, we might as well just deal with that now, it seems like, rather than just wait and maybe recess the jury. But before we do that, anything else? I know there's a potential issue related to a demonstrative exhibit this afternoon. I don't know if you want to make a record on that now, or you guys want to wait, or
It might be helpful, Your Honor, if Mr. Johnston informs the court what his objection is to the piece of demonstrative evidence, so that you're aware of that when you're looking for it, or looking at it.
Let's just start with that then. This is, as I understand it, is this the, I believe in opening statements, you mentioned a YouTube video?
Correct, Your Honor. During the investigation by Investigator Bosenberg, in order to figure out how to operate this firearm, he had to watch an online video that demonstrates essentially a tutorial. It's approximately 5.5 minutes that showed him how to load, unload, and break down this firearm in order for him to do his investigation into the firearm. That video was provided to the state and then provided to the defense, and apparently the defense has some objections to the video.
All right, and again, just to be clear, you're not offering this as substantive evidence. I mean, you're not offering it as an exhibit, I guess. I mean, you're offering it just for demonstrative purposes. Is that correct?
That is correct, Your Honor, that I'm not offering it for substantive purposes. However, I did want to also, because we had talked in addition to trying to find out the court's parameters as far as handling of the firearm in the courtroom. And so though it's not being offered necessarily for substantive purposes, it's also being offered to try and minimize the amount of handling done with the firearm in a courtroom full of people.
All right. So, Mr. Johnston, why don't you just, for the record, let me know what your issues are or objections are to the video that's been discussed.
Well, Your Honor, I don't have any objection to the video showing how to load and not load or unload the firearm. There's just a lot of talk on this video by this guy, extraneous talk about the firearm, its history, what a great weapon it is, and all these things that we don't need. My proposal to Ms. Slaughter was to simply show the video without the audio, and the witness on the stand could narrate, what the jurors are seeing. But there's a lot of parts where the gun is also being fired, also, which I think could be prejudicial. So I would prefer, my objection is that we just show the part of the video where that witness can testify that we had to look at this video and show the part of the video that shows the loading of the firearm and leave it at that.
Ms. Slaughter, what is I haven't seen it, I will view it over the lunch break, but from the state's perspective, what does the commentary add, or why is that necessary to the video?
I disagree with the characterization of what that commentary is. There definitely is explanation and narration regarding the firearm, which, Your Honor, my understanding of what demonstrative evidence is exactly that. Evidence that is not substantive in nature, but would be used to clarify or explain other evidence that is being used substantively in this case, and I think that that's exactly what the narration of this video does, especially since that narration is what explained to this officer how to operate the firearm.
And as far as, Mr. Johnson's also indicated that, again, I'll watch the video, and I haven't seen it, so I'm doing all this questioning without having seen the video at this point, but Mr. Johnson suggested that we stop the video or not show the gun being fired. Why is that necessary from the state's perspective?
The firing of the weapon in the video also gives information related to the volume of the firing from this video, which is at issue here, the lack of gunshots heard. It's a small, quiet rifle, and this video demonstrates how it's used, what it sounds like when it's used, how it's loaded, how it's unloaded, how it's broken down. It demonstrates the gun.
All right. May I just add that this is not the same gun. It's a like gun. But it's not the same firearm that was in this case.
All right. Anything else from either one of you, Mr. Johnson, Ms. Slaughter, related to the call it the YouTube video?
Not now, Judge.
Only just to point out that this is the kind of thing that we tell the jury not to do. So that's what was my other concern with using a YouTube video. Like I said, I'm completely fine with the video depicting the loading and unloading of the gun. I think it's a great idea so that the witness doesn't accidentally point the gun in the direction of the jury or anything like that, and I'm all in favor of it. Just not with the audio. Or the depictions of the gun being fired.
All right. Okay. Turning next, to where we left off right before lunch with testimony. I think when you came up, Ms. Slaughter, you indicated you were going to move on from the Yang residence and ask Officer Dunbar about other residences, and Mr. Johnson said he was going to object. Again, that's all I know at this point, so I don't know. Mr. Johnson, did you want to make a record on that?
Yes, Your Honor, and I just want to state, and I don't know what Ms. Slaughter was planning on going into, but if it's just for the purpose of cameras and where they're pointed, from what I have from my police report, I have Mr. Hansen's residence at 5100 Spring Oak, Charles Choi, 5101 Spring Oak, and those are the only ones that I know about, other than the Yangs that have already been discussed. So if it's just about cameras and where they were pointed, I don't really have an objection. It's just the Downeys were one of the places, and Edwin Downey has testified, but I don't want him going into hearsay about what Edwin Downey or Louise Downey told him. I was concerned because of the court's previous ruling that Ms. Slaughter might think that she can go into those things. And again, if it's limited to the cameras and where they were pointed, then I don't have an objection to any of that.
Well, Ms. Slaughter, I don't know that you're required at this point. I mean, we can deal with these case by case, because I'm not even sure at this point if an objection will be lodged or not, and that just depends on, I guess, the questions asked. So I'm happy to defer this and rule on them as they come, unless you want to shed some light on this at this point, Ms. Slaughter.
I'll shed minimal light, but I would like to defer this until the issue arises and I get an actual objection to something that's been asked of a witness on the stand. I do understand what hearsay is. I do think there are some statements that were made to police officers that do not qualify as hearsay that would be admissible, and I don't intend to offer any hearsay that doesn't have a recognized exception, Your Honor.
Okay, well, we'll deal with it as it comes up. I mean, Mr. Johnson, did you want to say something else?
I'm just trying to avoid having to usher the jury in and out, and
Well,
that was my only point.
We may not have to. I mean, if you want to object based on hearsay, I mean, again, I don't want, we're not going to have lengthy speaking objections, so, I mean, if you think she's asking for hearsay and she simply responds not offered for the truth of the matter, or however she's going to respond, if I need more argument, I'll ask for it, and we can address it outside the presence of the jury, but, most of these hearsay objections oftentimes are ruled on the spot based on, the objection and the response, and I'm prepared to do that if that's appropriate under the existing circumstances at the time.
Well, I'd at least like to have some notice then, whether, instead of them saying, well, what happened when you got to the Downey residence? And then they start talking about what the Downeys told them. I don't have an opportunity to interpose an objection. That's another one of my concerns. So I would at least like some notice when hearsay is about to start coming in. But I understand the court's ruling.
All right. Excuse me. Do you guys have anything else we need to talk about on the record at this point, Ms. Slaughter?
Your Honor, you said you wanted to make a record about the firearm. I don't know if it might be better reserved to have that conversation once Your Honor has had an opportunity to review the video to see what we need, because what I want to do with the firearm is going to be dependent on what your ruling is regarding this piece of demonstrative evidence, so we may need to hold off on that.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I don't know anything else that we need to discuss on the record.
The only thing I wanted to make a record on is how we're going to handle the firearm in court, make sure that the officer has cleared the weapon, will not be pointing it any direction, those kinds of things. So, and then, again, we don't need to do it now. At some point, if, as it appears likely, based on what I understand, the gun is offered and admitted into evidence, then we'll also need to make a record on how we're going to, I have no plans on sending the firearm back with the jury. If they would want to look at it, we would make that available to them here in open court somehow, but we can discuss the details of that later. But anything else, Ms. Slaughter?
I don't think, unless I don't think necessarily, Your Honor, that we need to make the procedural record about how to handle the firearm on the record, but I would like more information, yes.
Yeah. All right, Mr. Johnson, anything further we need to make a record on at this time?
No, Your Honor.
All right, then that'll conclude the record. I did have just one thing off the record to talk about. So we'll plan on coming back in a little early and making a record on that. I told them 1:15, I mean, so, sure.